How's it going, guys? So welcome to the first, hopefully of many, pick and ban breakdowns. So first off, we're going to start with week 1 of the LCK. So that's League Champions Korea. This is the first match. The first match was between Najin and Najin Empire and SKT1, so SK Telecom. This series is really interesting just because of the way pick bans actually worked out. So we're just gonna not even talk about it right now. We're just gonna go ahead and jump into the match. Let me go ahead and swap over.
Yes,
Perfect.
That's right.
So let's go ahead and turn the sound down for us. And yeah, we're just gonna jump into pick and ban. Let's sort of pause as we go and see what's going on. So SKT is playing with Faker. Also, they're playing with Bang and Wolf. And Najin Fire is playing with OQ and Kane. Those are really the only subs that both teams really use. And so yeah, SKT obviously puts a lot of emphasis on that mid lane focus, just because they have Faker, and they also put it, and Najin on the other side puts in a lot of focus on their solo laners, so their top and mid lanes, just because Goong and Duke are extremely strong. But you see coming out right away is Azir banned out for Najin, something they don't really want to have Faker to have. So you're going to see a lot of mid lane focus from them, very obvious there. And then SKT, you're going to see the Janna being banned out. So Kane, of course, not so much a ban against Kane, but more so just the power that Janna does bring to the table. Lissandra, of course, something that Faker and Marin both play really well, as well as the Caston being taken out as well for Goong and Duke. So what's probably going to happen is I'm going to go ahead and let the pans go out here, and then we'll go ahead and discuss them a little bit further. But yeah, we'll go ahead and let them go out. So you'll see the second wave here, the Lissandra and the Kassadin are both sort of the flex pick options here. Gnar, again, another power ban. And so I guess we'll go ahead and start with just breaking down the ideas of pick and bans, and so sort of the general idea of what people are trying to do, and the general idea of pick and ban. So there's three types of sort of what I consider three types of pick bans. There's power picks and power bans. So the power champions, the ones that are very strong right now, the ones that are strong in the meta, that are making really big game impact. Let's pause it here. Things that are making really big game impact. So again, the Azir, the Gnar, the Janna, these power picks that pretty much everyone plays. They're just really strong right now. Everyone knows they're strong, and of course they want to go ahead and either take them for themselves or pick them off the table, or take them off the table for the other team. On the other side, there's flex picks. So something that can go in multiple lanes, that works in multiple comps. Something that's just generally a solid pick and can be used in many different positions, so it can confuse sort of the pick and ban phase in that way. And then, of course, just kind of niche picks, and so or like personal preference picks. So things that only that person plays, or something that's a specialty of that person. And so these are like the three major picks that I sort of attribute. So let's go ahead and break down Najin's bans first. So we have the Azir pick, which is something that Faker really loves to play, as well as a power pick. So that's something that you definitely want to take off the table. The Gnar, sort of the same thing. Marin is a great Gnar player, and on top of that, it's just a power pick, so you want to get rid of that as quickly as possible. Lissandra, again, something that's really strong, but also both Faker and Marin play. So if that gets first picked or early picked, you're not entirely sure if it's going to be top or mid, so just something that you really want to get rid of as soon as possible. On the side of SKT, it's a little bit different. You see the Janna ban, general power ban. That's something that they've been wanting to get rid of for pretty consistently. If they can't first pick it themselves, they really do want to get rid of it. The Kassadin, not so much a power ban anymore. It's not as strong as it was in earlier seasons, but of course it's still a really strong pick, and both Goong and Duke play it relatively well. So you want to go ahead and get rid of that. Again, just a flex pick idea. The Maokai, Watch plays it, Duke plays it. It's a strong pick overall. Don't want to play against it. It's sort of the CC monster, so you don't want to deal with it. Just go ahead and get rid of it. So let's jump into pick and bans. So you're going to see Najin first pick a Rumble. And so the idea with Rumble is he's such a great team fighter. He's something that equalizer just changes the entire composition of a team fight, as well as he's individually a good one-on-one kind of champion as well. So he can survive pretty well in lane. Duke plays him relatively well, and then of course you have the power of the equalizer, which Duke has shown to be pretty proficient on. So of course you're going to go ahead and snatch it up right away. Again, I'm surprised that they don't go with something a little more sort of power-oriented. Something like a Jarvan. Jarvan's really popular. Lee Sin. Something that Watch can go ahead and play because that's more of a weaker area of your team. So that would really help on that front. There's so much stuff available. There's the wow, I'm blanking out. There's just a lot of different picks available. I mean, you're gonna see SKT get the Lee Sin, which of course is one of Bengi's favorite champions. And so, okay, I'm gonna pause right here. They're gonna lock in the Xerath. It's something that SKT has done this entire season, and it's something that has been a big question mark to everyone pretty much involved. Xerath is a good champion, don't get me wrong. He is probably the best sort of long-range poke mage champion, and it's something that both Faker and EasyHoon play very, very well. They're two of the best Xerath players in the world, but not something you really want to first pick. I mean, when you first pick a champion, it's something that you think is going to be a focal point of your team, something that you're not really scared gets counterpicked because you're picking it so early. It's something that you just want to grab up. It's mine. You don't really care about what the other person plays. And maybe they do have that much confidence in Faker and EasyHoon to just go ahead and play the Xerath and pick it so early in the draft. But looking at it, Xerath only does one thing. Right? He's pretty much solely a poke and siege mage champion. He doesn't really provide much else to a team fight or anything like that. And so you're sort of pigeonholing yourself into, this is maybe the style of play that we want to go for. Here you go, guys. Here's the style of play that we're going for. It's this long range kind of poke siege kind of thing, and it also lets them. And Xerath isn't a safe champion. Overall, it's pretty hard to play in lane, as well as Faker and EasyHoon do play it. It's something that you don't really pick so early, and so it can be easily punished if you pick something assassiny like a Zed, like an Ahri, LeBlanc, and things. These are things that Goong plays, so it's not like you don't know Goong plays these assassin type champions. So them locking in this early Xerath is just maybe a little bit of a question mark and a bit of a problem in their pick bans. The Lee Sin, of course, is a given pick ban early pick, but the Xerath is sort of a head scratcher here. See, on the other side, Rumble does fit into a lot of different comps, as does Lee Sin, so you're not really pigeonholing yourself into a certain composition or style of play that you're going for in this game. But again, it's something that the SKT have done a lot this season, and we're going to hear about me talk about it a lot more throughout these entire videos, this video series, and hopefully go ahead and maybe they'll correct it, and we'll go ahead and break down what they go on from there. I'm not saying Xerath's a bad champion. I'm saying that this early in the pick ban phase, not a very good pick here. And there's so much available that Faker does play. Faker's champion pool is so gigantic that first picking the Xerath just seems like a bit of a waste, especially when he's your strongest player. So yeah, you're going to go ahead and see Najin get the Jarvan, like I was talking about earlier, as well as a Sivert. And that goes ahead and works really, really well with their team fight comp. So with Rumble having that big AoE equalizer and putting on a lot of AoE damage and splitting up and ruining a team fight, you have Jarvan jumping in with the Cataclysm as well, being that kind of CC bot, and then you have the Sivert ultimate to go ahead and rush them in there as quickly as possible. So just a very strong team fight there, and a lot of engage potential on that side, as well as the AoE damage coming from a lot of Sivert's spells and abilities as well. Now, picking it in this order. So you do have Bengi locked in with the Lee Sin already. So the Jarvan pickup here is actually, I think, a little early, although SKT could pick it top lane, although I haven't really seen Marin play a lot of Jarvan top lane. So I thought they maybe could have waited on the Jarvan pick, but again, he doesn't really show much about the comp. It does really emphasize this team fight oriented thing, but Jarvan does fit into a lot of different compositions, builds a very strong front line, and of course then you're able to go ahead and maybe have more info before you pick your mid laner or your support, and that's really what you're building yourself up for here. But in this aspect, maybe since you already have your top lane already picked and you know what the jungler is, you might as well just go ahead and pick the jungler anyway. So not good or bad. Just you could have maybe waited for the Jarvan because they're not going to pick most likely they're not going to pick the Jarvan Jarvan for top lane in this scenario. But overall, very solid pick. And then of course the Sivir, getting that out as quickly as possible. Bang and SKT are both known for playing Sivir comps quite well. So not something you want to go ahead and play or let them have. So SKT here is going to go ahead and pick the Mundo and the Tristana. Again, it's going really, really late game. And so this is sort of the overall composition that you're seeing from SKT. Tristana, the late game monster. Xerath, the super strong late game. Mundo, the late game mega tank, as well as the Lee Sin for some early pressure, as well as a good late game duelist. But with this much engage coming out from Najin, you can already see it. You can already see with the Rumble, with the Jarvan, with the Sivir, they're going to have a ton of engage, a ton of power. Early to mid game, just in terms of their team fight potential and the amount they're going to want to dive onto your carries. That's why it's so strange to go ahead and see the Xerath, and of course to see the Tristana. As strong as Tristana is, she does get the her attack speed or her attack range increase on levels. So before she hits that max level of range, she is quite scary because she does have that small little attack range, and she only has the one jump. Of course, she gets it on the reset, but Jarvan and Rumble tend to get really tanky, so if you're not able to get a kill or an assist and get the reset, you're going to be pretty much stuck where you are. And so it does get a little bit risky there. Mundo does take a little while to go ahead and scale up, and while he's scaling up, you do have Jarvan and Rumble in your face trying to do the damage down. And Mundo isn't that great of a pick. He does get ganked quite early on, and Jarvan and Rumble are both great at doing that. So again, just a very strange pick ban phase coming out from SKT here. I see what they're going for. It's a late game team fight comp with a lot of siege, a lot of poke coming in with a very strong front line, able to sort of disruption. But Najin's comp is going to go ahead and scale a lot faster than that, even just by seeing these first three picks. Now, they're going to round out the comp with Zed and Annie. So the Annie support and the Zed mid. Again, Zed is something that I really expected, something that I really saw coming. Goong does play quite a bit of Zed, and of course he is going to be able to burst the Xerath at 6 and pretty much any time after that pretty easily at that point. So again, it's just a weird thing to go ahead and first pick the early Xerath. You're seeing sort of the ramifications of early picking that. And then the Annie is just a good pick for Sivir. Able to get sped up by that ulti and then just tibbers and stun a lot of people, or just single out a target and stun them and lock them down for a long period of time, as well as doing quite a bit of damage. And with that front line of Rumble and Jarvan, they don't need the extra tank from the support role. So you can go ahead and maybe build that damage. And so since they do have Zed, that AD mid laner, you're not going to have the AP damage you needed. So you go ahead and get that from the top lane Rumble as well as the support Annie to go ahead and round it off and make it a little more multi-threat in terms of damage. Now SKT going ahead and picking the Thresh here. The Thresh pick I do actually like. It does give them a fair amount of utility to work with in terms of maybe being able to get out Xerath and Tristana, and maybe help them out a little bit more, keep them a little bit safer. But again, it's something that I completely think the Xerath first pick really messed up their pick ban phase, and really hurt them here to sort of getting a solid team comp that's going to be able to deal with this sort of mid-game power that Najin has here. So yeah, that's the first game of this series, the first sort of pick bans. Again, I'm not going to go over the games, but Najin does go ahead and win this game. Goon goes off on Zed. I think he went 13-1 and 6 or 7, something like that, onto Faker. I'm going to look it up. It's 13-1 and 7 on Zed against Faker Xerath. So again, even though it's Faker, it's hard to go ahead and deal with such pressure with a champion like Xerath. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and jump over into the next game here as soon as I can go ahead and scroll over and find it. There we go. And yeah, we're going to go ahead get into another game. And so this is game 2. Of course, Najin and SKT, or Najin did go ahead and win that game. So SKT is going to go ahead and try to maybe fix the mistakes they made in their pick bans. Again, I don't think that game they necessarily performed badly. It was just a thing of their pick ban and their comp not helping them out. It took them a long time to scale. They did a lot better later in the game, but just not able to overcome the massive amount of power that Najin was given in that mid game. And once they scaled up a little bit, it was just completely done. The Rumble ultis were absolutely insane. So again, we're jumping into pick bans, fresh start. We know what just happens. We see them on the bottom there with the last ban and the last picks. The LeBlanc being taken out for SKT. Something that Goon plays quite a bit, as well as EasyHoon. So we do have EasyHoon switching in here for Faker. Something that's very strange to me. I don't understand why they keep switching them out, but okay, we'll talk about that on a different time. The Lissandra being taken out again, something that, again, that Marin plays, and EasyHoon, a flex pick there. Now LeBlanc, EasyHoon doesn't play as much LeBlanc as Faker, so it's something that they're very comfortable banning away here. Goon does play a very strong LeBlanc, so okay, of course you would want to go ahead and get rid of that. But yeah, we'll go ahead and take a look here. The Annie being taken out, they don't want to see that again. That had a pretty big impact with Kane on the last game, so something they want to get rid of relatively soon. You might as well just get rid of it and pick and ban. Wolf doesn't really play too much Annie. He's more of the utility style of mid laner that he's used to. Now the Rumble being taken out and banned out by Najin. Marin plays a really strong Rumble, so they want to make sure that that's not first picked again. Again, that's a power pick, a great team fight pick, so they want to get rid of it if they can't take it themselves. Now, we're gonna go ahead and see SKT go ahead and ban out Kassadin again. That's going to be their last ban, and of course that's again against Duke and Goong, something that's a flex pick, something they don't want to deal with. Maybe moving around to different areas that they're not really sure about. And Najin going ahead and taking out Gnar. Now, the Gnar, again, just a power pick. So you see relatively similar bans here. Let's go over them again. Let's go ahead. So the Kassadin, Azir, and Gnar, or the Kassadin, Lissandra, and Gnar are the 3 picks that go ahead and carry over. The Janna, Maokai, and Azir are left through. Now the Azir is left through because EasyHoon doesn't necessarily play too much Azir, or at least we haven't really seen him play Azir, or heard about him playing Azir, so it's something that isn't as scary as Faker playing it. So you want to go ahead and let that through. Not really too scary there, something that you want to go ahead and maybe test him on at that point. Janna left through, something that they really just didn't want to ban out. Since now SKT has the first pick, they want to make sure to maybe get that Janna, and Najin wasn't scared enough of it to ban it away. Same thing with the Maokai. You know, if SKT has an early pick in the draft, depending on how the bans went, they can go ahead and lock in that Maokai as they see fit. And so we can go ahead and move on here. They are going to go ahead and first pick the Janna. Just so much utility with that Janna. You can engage. If used correctly, you can engage. She is still the queen of disengage. There's so many shields, slows, knockups. There's just everything goes in with Janna's kit. Really strong support right now, in my opinion. The top support, just an overall power pick and something that Wolf is extremely comfortable with. So something that SKT would love to go ahead and first pick, which they do. Now, going forward here, let's go ahead and maybe speed it up here. Can we go ahead and speed it up? Let's see. You can speed that up. Nope, we're not going to go ahead and speed it up. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and deal with it. So Janna going ahead and being this first pick. Sorry guys, this is the first time we're doing this video, so I'm still working out the kinks here to see how long these videos are supposed to be. But yeah, we're going to make it happen instead. But yeah, Janna going ahead and being first pick. Again, such a strong power pick. Now, Najin's going to go ahead and first pick Jace and a Jarvan. So they did love the engage of the Jarvan. They don't have the Rumble available to pick up, so they're going to go ahead and maybe take the Jace here for a little bit more poke, a little bit of engage, but they are going to put that mid lane with Goong. Now, the thing that's kind of interesting here is Jace nowadays is known more as a mid laner, but of course he is still can be played top lane, and Duke is still playing sort of Jace. You see him play it on solo queue, or you did at the time. So it does work as a sort of flex pick. So you're not entirely sure, or SKT isn't really sure where that's going. So a really good flex pick option there. And then of course just the power pick with the Jarvan. Again, this doesn't really show too much of their comp. Really cool kind of thing here from Najin, not showing off their comps here. Because of course Jarvan does fit into a lot of different sort of compositions, a dive comp, a lot of poke and siege comps as well, and Jace is that poke champion, but he can also engage once he switches to that hammer form. So just a really cool thing there. Now SKT is going to go ahead and grab grab Maokai and Xerath. Okay, so again we're getting the Xerath again, but now we know it's a little bit later in the draft. That Jace, they think, is maybe going mid lane, because Goong does play quite a bit of Jace, especially now that he's sort of metaed as a mid laner. So they're not too scared about that. They're not scared off by maybe that going top lane or mid lane. They do pick out the Maokai, which can deal with Jace as well. So they're very, very comfortable doing both of those things. The CC from Janna and Maokai should be able to keep Xerath alive and well and pretty safe throughout team fights if it gets to that point. So again, just more thinking now that it's just one round later in the draft here. We're going to pause the video. Or it's just one round later in the draft here, and you're seeing the sort of thought processes shift a little bit more towards maybe protecting the Xerath. Just getting the picks down that they need to pick that Xerath safely before they just go ahead and lock it in, thinking they're going to get the things they need later on. So of course we're going to go ahead and move on. Najin's going to secure their bot lane here with a Nami and Tristana. I do love the Nami. I do love the Tristana here with this composition. You do have a lot of poke coming in with Jace and Tristana, and then you have the CC to keep Tristana safe until she scales up with the Nami, as well as sustained up in lane, because you haven't seen that bot lane yet, and the Jarvan as well to help out and maybe lock down those targets. Or while Jarvan goes ahead and locks down those targets, you have the tidal wave to speed him up, as well as the bubble to come in afterwards. Once he gets that Cataclysm down, it's an easy sort of skill shot to hit in that little Cataclysm to just bubble them in. Now, SKT is going to go ahead and lock in the Corki and Lee Sin. Now, see, this is what I was talking about later on, or in the last pick ban, where where Najin went and took the Jarvan second pick after SKT took the Lee Sin. Now, since Jarvan was locked in so early for Najin, SKT could wait to go ahead and lock in their jungler to make sure they see the rest of the comp first, so they are safe to go ahead and pick him late, because he's not going to be picked up he's as a top laner or anything like that, or a mid laner. This isn't solo queue, guys. It is the LCK, so it's a little more professional. But the Corki pick, something that's going to be able to help sustain through until Xerath gets that late game damage. It's going to be a great bridge to go ahead and, with Corki's mid game power spikes, be able to sort of carry the game through to Xerath's late game power, and then provide the support for Xerath as well. And be a little bit safer than Xerath. So while all of the focus goes on to, if the focus does go on to him, that the team can still focus on playing and protecting EasyHoon with that Xerath, while Bang can be a little bit safer on his own. So the last pick here for Najin is going to be their top laner. They're going to go with the Mundo. So you're going to see the tank line that SKT went with in that first game. With the Mundo backed up by the Tristana. Again, that's a very late game composition. That's something that you want to go ahead and scale up into. Now, the difference here is SKT has enough early and mid game potential with the Lee Sin and the Corki to be able to maybe snowball the game ahead and get far enough ahead and enough of a lead for their team to go ahead and get that Xerath going before the late game power spikes with Jace, Tristana, and Mundo. I'm not sure if Najin quite knew the team fight comp they wanted to really go for. It does look a little warped and confused. So you saw in the one earlier, they had the Rumble, the Jarvan, along with the Annie, and then the Sivir, and then there's a Zed to go ahead and pick off and abuse Faker. So that's a very, other than Zed, that's a very team fight oriented comp, and even Zed has quite a bit of AoE with that spin and the blades and everything he does. So he does do a little bit of AoE damage, especially if you get a Hydra on him or anything like that. But you can go ahead and see the team fight comp they want to go for there. The team fight comp from Najin right now just looks a little bit confused. They have a lot of engaged potential with the Nami, the Jarvan, but of course the Jace and the Tristana want to go ahead and stand on the outsides to poke and not really dive in too far. So it does leave their team a little bit open, especially with a Corki, Janna, Lee Sin, and Maokai that are going to go ahead and dive and maybe even be able to stay back and protect Faker and then dive. But Faker's going to be so far away from the fight with that immense range that Xerath has. He's going to be relatively safe unless Watch and Duke leave all their carries behind to go ahead and dive Faker, which at that point, the four members of SKT, it's a 4-on-3 at that point. So yeah, SKT does go ahead and win this matchup. And you see a great game from EasyHoon on Xerath as well as Bang, both of them not dying. You only see one death on the side of SKT with the Lee Sin, and yeah, everything else kind of goes to hell for Najin. So you see the little bit. That game does last a little bit longer than the last one though, about 2.5 minutes longer. So you do see that there's a little bit of discrepancy there in terms of how late that game went, because both teams don't have that. Neither team has that early game or mid game huge power spike like Najin had that first game. But now that this series is going to be at 1-1, so we're going to go ahead, maybe jump over to another game. Let me go ahead and jump over here. Scrolling across, looking for the champ select. There it is. Got it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and jump over back. So we're in game 3 now. We've seen 2 games. We've seen different style of comps from both teams here. One with a very mid-game focus, a very balanced comp from SKT coming in from that second game. And then we're going to go ahead and pick bans here again for this third match. Now, this is the first match of the season, so you're going to see a lot of maybe experimentation from both teams here. Faker is back in the lineup for this game. So something that you have to go ahead and watch out for, the LeBlancs, the Aries, the little more assassins. So you do see now with Faker back in the lineup, the Azir ban coming out, the Annie coming back out for Kayn. The LeBlanc ban is probably not going to go through just because of Faker's presence, because Faker does play a very strong LeBlanc. They're going to be force Goong to ban that away or to take it and first pick it, which of course is something they want to go ahead and do anyway. But yeah, you do see the Azir again coming out again because Faker's in there, not EasyHoon. You see the difference in pick spans because of those two players swapping in and out. The Lissandra being banned out again. Again, that's a very flex pick option. Again, with the Caston, the flex pick option. And so the last ban here is going to be a Gnar. Again, something that Marin is very strong with. It's been banned all 3 games, as Najin has banned all 3 games against Marin. Duke does play a little bit of Gnar, but not at the same level as Marin, so they're not comfortable first picking it, so you might as well just ban it out. Same thing goes, now this last pick is going to be Jarvan. Now you do see Jarvan being picked up by Watch in both of the last 2 games, so they just want to go ahead and take him off that. He did look extremely comfortable in that first game, and he did play pretty well in that second game as well, even though his team wasn't really there to back him up. He did play very, very strong, and so they want to go ahead and take that off the table and maybe force him onto a different jungler here, something that he's less comfortable on. That does leave the Rumble open, and Najin does go ahead and first pick that again. So sort of the thing of SKT doesn't want that same combo of the Jarvan Rumble where you get the Cataclysm as well as the Equalizer on top. So you're going to go ahead and get rid of one. They see Jarvan as the more utilitarian, a bigger threat sort of a thing. So they're going to go ahead and take care of that. Get that out of there. Let them have the Rumble. Then they get the Janna and the Lee Sin again. So the that combos worked really well with them. Again, it's something that Bengi's extremely comfortable on as well as Watch. So with them taking care of the Jarvan, the Lee Sin is something they really want to lock into to make sure they force Watch on something that he's not extremely comfortable on. Same thing goes for the Janna, something that they love. They love to have that Janna. Wolf looked extremely comfortable in that last game. He went 0-0-10. So something they want to go ahead and lock up. So those two power picks right off the bat, as well as something that Bengi and Wolf are extremely comfortable on. So just perfect picks coming in, as well as those two champions fitting into pretty much every comp that they can throw around that. So those aren't linchpins of comps, but they're going ahead and building up very strong utilitarian options to go ahead and build around whatever comp they see throughout the rest of the draft phase here. Now, Najin's going ahead and going to pick up Kha'Zix and Braum. It's going to be very strange because those are the first times we're seeing those champions here in this pick ban phase, something that's very a little bit different. Kha'Zix, something that's not so much team fight oriented, but just sort of jumping around a team fight, picking people off, getting the resets, and jumping back in. Not extremely team fight oriented. Braum, on the other hand, something that's very, very team fight. That large ulti that comes down, as well as the shield, negating a lot of damage, able to protect his carries, jumping around, proccing that stun onto people as much as possible. Just a team fight menace here. So really comboing well off with the Rumble because they're not going to be able to get away from Braum or Rumble. So great pick there. And then maybe if they get them low enough, then Kha'Zix can go ahead and have a field day jumping around the fight as much as he likes to. Now, SKT is going to go ahead and pick up Maokai once again. That was a very strong pick for them before, as well as the Tristana. Now, the Tristana, again, that late game comp, that late game pick, but they do have enough protection this time to go ahead and protect her, keep her safe for as long as possible until she scales up and is able to be that late game demolishing presence that she is, getting that attack range where she can really protect herself and stay safe in the back of a fight. Of course, they do have Janna and Maokai to go ahead and keep her safe again. As well as Lee Sin, maybe kicking people a little bit closer to her so she can get off those autos and stay a little bit safe, and not having to jump in to do that extra damage that she has. Again, Tristana is something that Bang is very comfortable on, Marin is very comfortable on Maokai, so very good comfort picks here, as well as a very stable team fight comp, as well as just lining up a good power spike sort of synchronization there. All these champions are relatively strong throughout the entire game, except for Tristana, but she is going to be able to scale up with the rest of the team into a late game powerhouse. And the rest of her team is going to be extremely strong to go ahead and help her get to that point. Now, Najin's going ahead and going to pick up Kalista and Ahri, right? So the Ahri, something that Goong is very comfortable on, something that Goong loves to play Ahri. He played it against Faker at World Championships Season 3, something that he loves to go ahead and play on those Assassins champions, something he's very comfortable on. The Kalista is something new. OQ really the first person we're seeing play Kalista in a professional scene. Not really sure how she fits to a comp. I love her with Braum though. Able to go ahead and proc off those stuns, maybe help get the slows off with the Rend, and then going ahead and getting the proc off with the Braum stun. Her jumping around is really going to help out the mobility factor with Braum being able to jump to her and getting off a stun or getting off another ability. Just the movement coming out from her and Kha'Zix and Ahri. There's a very movement heavy focus for all three of those champions. So team fights are going to be very chaotic and very sort of all over the place with these champions moving around as quickly as possible. And then Rumble and Braum limiting the amount of movement that can happen for SKT to go ahead and chase through with the Kha'Zix and Kalista and Ahri. Now, see, this is something, again, on SKT side, that I felt like they should have been doing all throughout the entire matches, is protecting Faker, letting him have that last pick, letting him have the comfort to go ahead and pick whatever he wants here, and once he sees the full comp. So he's going to be running into Ari's LeBlanc, or sorry, Goong's Ari here. But Faker does go ahead and pick LeBlanc, something that he's sort of known for. He's known for a lot of champions, but LeBlanc especially something that he's very comfortable with. And so picking that up, and again, builds this very late game focused comp, something that they're going to be very comfortable on, maybe even snowball ahead with how quickly LeBlanc and Tristana can go ahead. If they get a couple of kills on them, can start snowballing the game out, and they do have the perfect team comp to go ahead and do that and keep them safe with the Maokai, Janna, and Lee Sin. Now, I love the comp from SKT here. I love the comps from Najin. I think SKT has the better comp here just because it's something that I'm a little more used to seeing. They have that front line set in stone. It's the Maokai Lee Sin sort of dive comp with the Janna being able to back them up, get them in and out of any situation, engage and disengage. The problem that I see with Najin's comp is they have ways to engage, but not so much disengage. There's tons of ways to start fights. There's not a ton of ways to get away from them. There's a lot of mobility coming in from Kha'Zix, Ari, and Kalista. But I mean, if Rumble gets dived on, if Braum gets dove on, there's not so much they can do other than just try to turn the fight as quickly as possible. And with the amount of damage that's going to be coming out with Lee Sin, LeBlanc, and Tristana, as well as the protection coming in from Maokai and Ari, coming in from Maokai and Janna, I don't really see the turning of fights really happening. If SKT wants them to happen, they can go ahead and disengage very easily. If they want them to happen, they can let them happen, and really control the team fights here. So SKT does go ahead and go on to win this game, rather convincingly as well. Faker does get a pentakill, and so yeah, it's something that I really see coming in just from the comps, and something that they're very comfortable with doing, and I see that that comp being very solid for them as well. So overall, very solid team comp from both sides throughout the entire games. I think the only really flaw there was the first pick of Xerath in the first game for SKT. But overall, very smart pick and bans, and something you really see from Korea. Korea, you really do see this focus on power picks, and you see less focus on sort of personal niche champions like you do in North America or Europe, and sort of regional differences from China. So we'll go ahead and get to those when we get to those videos. But yeah, I just want to go ahead and test out this first match. So this is Najin and SKT in week 1 of the LCK. Hope you enjoyed that, and hopefully you guys come back for more. Have a good night.